You can lose your U.S. citizenship, even if you didn't do anything wrong. It sounds impossible, but this is the truth. Hundreds of Americans each year are stripped of their citizenship, not because they betrayed their country, but because they accidentally broke the law, because they didn't keep up with new regulations, and especially because they retired abroad. If you think citizenship is permanent, if you're already retired overseas or planning to leave the U.S. soon and believe the passport in your pocket keeps you safe, then today's video is for you. We're going to show you the 5 legal reasons you can lose your citizenship, the serious consequences no one talks about, and how to protect yourself starting right now. This is not a threat. This is information almost no one tells you, but you need to hear before it's too late. Are you sure your citizenship file is completely safe? Like, comment, and subscribe to Discover Top 10 so you don't miss any critical alerts about immigration, citizenship, and your legal rights. Let's begin. 1. The 5 most common reasons why U.S. citizens, especially retirees living abroad, can lose their citizenship. And the scariest part is, many don't even know until it's too late. Citizenship is the anchor of identity in the global flow of migration. But that anchor, if not tightly secured, can quietly drift away. Reason 1. Fraud or misrepresentation during naturalization. You can't bury the past with an oath. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, over 150 cases are reopened each year to investigate potential fraud during the naturalization process. This isn't a political witch hunt. It's a result of modern technology and global data that allow law enforcement to review and connect information faster than ever. If you ever lied, withheld information, used a different identity, or skipped over sensitive details in your citizenship application, you may be living on a temporary file, not permanent citizenship. Omar, a Bosnian man who lived in Michigan for nearly 20 years, is a vivid example. He had a family, a stable job, and attended church regularly. But during his naturalization, he failed to disclose that he once served in an armed militia during wartime. Nearly 2 decades later, the DOJ's international data system found the connection. His citizenship was revoked. Omar was deported. Everything he had built over almost 20 years collapsed with one administrative decision. If you're a naturalized citizen, ask yourself, are you absolutely certain that your original file was completely truthful? In the legal world, the past doesn't sleep. It simply waits to be reopened. Reason 2. Voluntarily renouncing citizenship. You close the door home with your own hand. Every year, more than 4,000 Americans officially renounce their citizenship, most of them living abroad. They go to an embassy or consulate, sign an oath of renunciation, pay a fee of over $2,000, and that's it. A small decision, but the consequences stretch across a lifetime. Linda, a Filipino-American woman, lived in Cebu after retirement. She renounced her U.S. citizenship to simplify her tax paperwork. It all seemed reasonable, until her husband in California was hospitalized after a stroke. Linda applied for an emergency visa to fly back, but since she was no longer a citizen, the process dragged on and was ultimately denied. Her husband passed away, and she never got to say a final goodbye. Renouncing citizenship is a right, but also a legal severance. When that door closes, you can't walk through it the same way again. No more U.S. passport, no more voting rights, no more access to Social Security, Medicare, or even the right to re-enter the U.S. without a visa, and a visa is never guaranteed to be approved. Reason 3. Joining a foreign military or government. Loyalty isn't just an oath, it's an action that can be misinterpreted. According to U.S. law, if within 5 years after naturalization, you join the military of a hostile nation or hold a position in a foreign government without permission, that may be considered evidence that you've renounced your loyalty to the United States. Jack, a retired engineer in Montenegro, was invited to serve as an honorary advisor on the local council. A symbolic role, with no real power. But when the U.S. government was reviewing data related to a political incident in the Balkans, Jack's name came up. And because he hadn't notified the consulate, his naturalization file was reopened. No one thinks an honorary title could be a reason to lose citizenship, but in the legal world, actions sometimes matter more than intentions. And silence can sometimes be interpreted as voluntary renunciation. Don't forget to hit like if you believe this is information worth sharing. and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss essential survival alerts about citizenship, immigration, and global living. Reason 4. Treason or rebellion. The law doesn't forget those who turn their backs. Treason is rare, but when it happens, the consequences are absolute. You're not only subject to criminal prosecution, but you may also be stripped of your citizenship through a federal court process. In the past 50 years, more than 30 treason cases have been documented. Many involved espionage, aiding enemy forces, or conspiring to overthrow the U.S. government. For retirees living abroad, this may seem distant, but in a world where every statement can be quoted, a post, a declaration, or even a misdirected donation can place you under suspicion. Treason isn't only in the act, but hidden in the wrong choice of timing, location, and audience. Reason 5. Intent to relinquish citizenship through dual nationality. 2 passports, 1 heart that cannot be divided. The U.S. allows dual citizenship, but only if it doesn't contradict your loyalty. If you acquire another nationality with the clear intent to relinquish U.S. citizenship or swear absolute allegiance to the second country, you may be considered to have legally renounced your U.S. citizenship. This is the most common reason for retirees. Many naturalize in their host country to own land, obtain health insurance, or travel more easily. In that process, they sign an oath, sometimes in another language, pledging to renounce their former nationality without reading carefully. John, living in Portugal, became a citizen to receive medical benefits. A year later, when flying back to the U.S. to visit his grandchild, he was detained at the airport because international records showed he had voluntarily relinquished his U.S. citizenship through a clear declaration during his Portuguese naturalization process. Citizenship doesn't always disappear in the sound of gunfire. Sometimes it vanishes in the quiet scratch of a signature not fully understood. Citizenship isn't just a line in your passport. It is the right to return home, the name on your medical records, the protection when you are on the other side of the world. And once it's gone, it is rarely recovered. And what comes next may make you think twice before ever signing another naturalization form again. 2. Consequences of losing U.S. citizenship. You're no longer a citizen, you're a stranger between 2 worlds. Citizenship is not just a line in your passport. It's a safety harness in the legal system, an invisible shield protecting you amid life's unpredictable changes. But when you lose your U.S. citizenship, whether by choice or revocation, that entire layer of protection disappears. And when that protection disappears, you don't just lose rights. You lose your place in a system that once called you one of ours. If tomorrow you are denied entry to the U.S., who will you call? Who will stand up for you? For the young, there may still be time to start over. But for retirees living abroad, every loss is a profound shock. Consequence 1. Losing the right to return to the United States. The door is no longer open. No citizenship, no U.S. passport, no right of entry. And so, even if you were born in Ohio or once served in the military, if you no longer hold citizenship, you must apply for a visa like any other foreign national, and that visa may be denied. Imagine you're living in Algarve, and you hear your daughter is giving birth to her first child in Seattle. You book a last-minute flight. But at the airport, the visa officer says, "Sorry, sir, ma'am, you'll need an invitation letter and special clearance to enter." You stand there, holding your ticket, holding your luggage, but unable to return to America because you are no longer part of America. Consequence 2. Losing the right to vote. Your voice disappears in a democracy. Citizenship is the right to be heard. When you lose citizenship, you can no longer vote for president, no longer fill out ballots in referendums, no longer take part in a political system where you once paid taxes, once debated, once cared about every policy. A retiree living in Panama once said, "I lived in the U.S. for 62 years, but when I renounced my citizenship, I felt like I lost my right to be human in the story of my own country." You're no longer a participant. You're only a bystander. Consequence 3. Losing access to Social Security, Medicare, and federal benefits. It's not just about money, it's about survival. This is the key issue for retirees living abroad. Many don't know that if they lose citizenship, they may lose the ability to receive Social Security payments from the U.S., may not be eligible for Medicare upon returning to the U.S., and may even lose access to their bank accounts due to not having a valid Social Security number. According to the Social Security Administration, SSA, the U.S. currently has over 700,000 people receiving Social Security benefits from outside the country. But if you lose citizenship, your payments may be cut off entirely or even retroactively reclaimed if the government determines you were ineligible at the time. Just imagine, you're living in Thailand, receiving $1,500 a month to cover living expenses and healthcare. Then one day, your bank account stops receiving deposits from the SSA. You call the U.S. and they say, "We're sorry, your file has been closed. You are no longer an eligible citizen." Money is tangible. But the panic in a hospital, when you no longer have insurance and the doctor tells you you're not covered by Medicare anymore, that's what quietly erodes old age from within. Consequence 4. Becoming stateless. You no longer have legal ground to stand on. The most dangerous case is when you renounce your U.S. citizenship without having another legal nationality. In that case, you become stateless, a condition of belonging to no country. You cannot apply for a visa to go anywhere. You cannot legalize your residence in the country you're living in. You cannot open a bank account, sign a rental contract, or complete any administrative procedure. You cannot request consular assistance from the U.S. because you're no longer a U.S. citizen. You become someone who belongs nowhere, a shadow between two borders, and neither side calls you one of ours. Consequence 5. Loss of identity. No legal name, no right to belong. Citizenship is not just a right. It is your name on medical records, your insurance number, the first line on your tax return, and the words, "Nationality, United States," on every legal document. When citizenship is erased, those pieces no longer fit. You want to visit family in the U.S. You can't. You want to prove you were once a citizen to reclaim it. Too late. You want to use your name as before. The legal file no longer matches the present. You're like someone lost inside your own paperwork. Citizenship isn't lost with a bang. It's lost through long silences, not updating, not checking, not being alert. If this video has helped you wake up to the truth behind U.S. citizenship, hit like to help spread this vital information to more people. Subscribe to Discover Top 10 today so you don't miss survival alerts about citizenship, immigration, and safe living abroad. 3. These are 5 essential actions to protect your citizenship while living abroad. Just 5 steps to ensure no one can erase you from your country if you've already completed your career journey. If you've chosen to live the rest of your life in a warmer, more peaceful land, then congratulations. But remember, U.S. citizenship doesn't automatically follow you. It must be cared for, maintained, and protected, just like a passport needs to be renewed and like memories that need to be preserved. Here are 5 essential actions you must take, starting today, to keep your U.S. citizenship legal, safe, and lasting. Action 1. Read every document carefully when applying for another citizenship. Never take an oath you don't understand. You may want a second citizenship to buy property, access local insurance, or move freely within a region. That's not wrong. But the problem lies in the oath. Many countries have application forms requiring you to renounce previous citizenship as a condition for naturalization. If you sign that by accident, under U.S. law, it may be interpreted as a voluntary renunciation of U.S. citizenship. Ask for an oath version that does not require renunciation of prior citizenship. If unsure, stop, take a screenshot, and send it to an immigration attorney to review. Just one small sentence can change the entire definition of homeland. Action 2. File taxes with the IRS, even if you don't live in the U.S. The U.S. is one of the very few countries that taxes based on citizenship, not just residency. That means, if you are still a U.S. citizen, you must file taxes with the IRS every year, whether you live in Bali, Lisbon, or Tokyo. If you stop filing taxes for several years, your record may be classified as an inactive citizen, causing the government to suspect that you've informally renounced your citizenship without official notice. You may not owe taxes if your income is below the exemption threshold, or if a bilateral tax treaty applies, but ignoring the process altogether means you are cutting the last legal tie to the United States. Keeping your citizenship sometimes simply means filing a 1040 on time. Action 3. Do not accept political, military, or government positions abroad without permission. You may be invited to serve as an advisor, honorary representative, or neighborhood council member. as a kind, diplomatic gesture. But if that role belongs to a formal government system or involves political authority, the U.S. government may view it as a transfer of loyalty. Under U.S. immigration law, if you serve in the military or government of a foreign country without reporting or seeking prior approval, it may be considered an act of relinquishing U.S. citizenship. The solution is very simple. Before accepting any position involving public authority, contact the U.S. consulate in your area. Just one email, one appointment, and you've protected yourself from a legal misunderstanding that could cancel your citizenship. Action 4. Always renew your passport on time and keep your information updated with the embassy or consulate. A passport is not just a travel document. It is living proof that you are still legally present within the U.S. citizenship system. If your passport expires, your contact information is outdated, and you have no recorded communication for 5 to 10 years, the system may flag you as a disconnected citizen. Renew your passport at least 6 months before it expires. Update your address every time you move abroad. And if possible, visit the nearest U.S. consulate every 1 to 2 years, even just to check on your file status. The system won't call your name if you never speak. Stay visible. Action 5. Consult a citizenship attorney if you've ever done anything unclear. Have you ever taken another citizenship? Ever signed a declaration stating you're no longer a U.S. citizen? Ever missed years of tax filings? Held a role in a flagged organization? If there's anything that makes you uncertain, don't stay silent. An attorney specializing in citizenship and immigration can help you. Review your original file. Assess risks. Recommend steps for prevention or recovery if needed. Some mistakes can't be undone when you're standing at a border and denied entry. But if you still have time, paperwork, and a chance to explain, everything can be saved. Protecting your citizenship is not about fear. It's about awareness. It's knowing that you can't hold on to something valuable forever if you don't learn how to protect it. Comment below, "I will protect my citizenship," as a personal commitment and to show your community they're not alone. Hit like if this information helped you wake up. And subscribe to Discover Top 10 so you don't miss expert videos on citizenship, retirement, and safe living abroad. 4. Special risks for retirees living abroad. You did nothing wrong, and still, you could lose your citizenship. You just want to retire where the sunlight is gentle, the sea breeze is salty, and life moves at a slower pace. A small house on a hillside, morning markets, bird song instead of traffic. You thought you had escaped all the entanglements, but sometimes, in that moment of letting go, the most important thing begins to slip from your hands. Living far from the U.S., you stop paying attention to changes in the law. One day, you sign a form to apply for a new passport or agree to hold an honorary position in your local community, never realizing that this action, harmless in your view, could be interpreted by the U.S. government as a sign you've chosen loyalty to another country. A phrase, an oath, even a ceremonial event you thought was just formal, can become evidence of intent to relinquish your citizenship. You didn't betray anyone. You're simply continuing your life in a new community, with an open heart. But under U.S. law, not knowing the law is no excuse. Silence, being out of date, or a small clerical error can turn you, a legal citizen, into a stranger in the system. You didn't do anything wrong, but that won't protect you from the consequences. Just one small mistake could cost you your citizenship and your right to return home. If this video made you reconsider, hit like and share it to warn your loved ones. Where do you live? Have you checked your citizenship status recently? Comment below and let us know what kind of video you need next. Subscribe to Discover Top 10 now to receive timely legal alerts before it's too late. 5. Advice and preventive actions. You don't need to live in fear, but you do need to live in awareness. If you're retired or living long-term abroad, here are 4 things you must do today to protect your citizenship. Item 1. Learn the laws of citizenship and naturalization thoroughly. Laws vary from country to country, and they change over time. Never sign an oath or application for second citizenship if you don't fully understand the consequences. Even a phrase like, "renounce previous citizenship," can later be used as evidence against you. Item 2. Be cautious with international activities. You may be invited to serve as an honorary representative, sign a community petition, or join a local organization, but if these actions are interpreted as signs of allegiance to another government, they can be seen as evidence that you've abandoned the U.S. Be careful, and if you're unsure, ask. Item 3. Consult an attorney specializing in citizenship and immigration, especially if you've ever taken another citizenship, signed unclear documents, or have concerns about your past. One consultation today can save you from a legal disaster in the future. Item 4. Stay in regular contact with the U.S. Embassy or consulate. Update your address. Renew your passport on time. Make periodic in-person visits every few years. You can't maintain citizenship passively. Let the government know that you are still an active and present citizen. You have the right to live where you're happiest, but you also have the responsibility to protect your right to return home. Citizenship is not a wedding ring, not something that lasts forever after one oath. It's a living legal contract, and if you don't pay attention to the fine print, it can be quietly and lawfully torn apart. You spent your whole life becoming a U.S. citizen, by birth, by effort, or by decades of integration and contribution. Don't let a careless signature or what seems like a harmless action turn everything you've built into a locked-away memory. If you're retired abroad or planning to leave the U.S., act now. Update yourself on the latest citizenship laws. Consult a legal expert if you have doubts. Never underestimate the impact of an oath or an honorary title, because sometimes the cost of a single oversight is your entire identity. If this video helped you realize something important, hit like. If you have questions or know someone who's experienced this, leave a comment. And if you want more clear, timely insights on immigration, citizenship, and life abroad, subscribe to Discover Top 10 today, because some lessons should never be learned through loss. Thank you for watching. We're here to protect the truth and your rights.